So marginalization is when you are on the sidelines of society. So as it said.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started with this episode.
If you look at some of the statistics, like for example, in 2018, only 1% of characters in children's literature featured a character, a Black or brown character, or BAME, Black, Asian, Minority, Ethnic. And you look at the statistics of London, 39% of young people in London itself are from those backgrounds. And so when we're not represented, of course, we feel like, we can't see ourselves in books and stories. And so very much part of what I do is creating a platform so that we can redress the balance so that all races, all backgrounds, all stories, all journeys, all beliefs are represented equally and fairly. Because it's really about growing up in London. My first book, I wouldn't say it would have a huge influence. My first book is a relationship book, and it's got different stories of women across the world, and it's exploring the theme of relationships, which is universal. And it looks at self, it looks at, your value system, your beliefs about love, relationships, yourself, the power of forgiveness. So all of these things are tied to a place. They're universal themes. My latest book, which is Lockdown Life, is more reflective of the experience of lockdown in London, definitely. I'm very interested in giving a platform for unseen, unheard voices. So my passion comes from wanting to bring these voices to the forefront so that they're heard. We work with authors from all over the world, so it's not tied to a place, it's not tied to London. I work with authors from America, from Nigeria, from Jamaica. I've worked with authors from Canada, Australia. So we also have a book called More Than One Voice, which features 8 girls from different remote villages. And we've got India, we've got Brazil, we've got Nepal. So it's all different places. It's not, my company is London based, but I'm interested in hearing stories from people worldwide. And what motivates me is that I don't think there is enough of a platform commercially for these voices, unheard voices and stories to be heard. And so this platform here, which, the base is London, but a lot of the work that we do is online and virtually, is giving space for people from all over the world to have their stories heard. I think if you take the book More Than One Voice, which is written by put together by Julia Lynch. She's got an organisation called Global Girl Project. So she works in remote villages where they wouldn't have access to book publishers or the facilities that we might do to be able to, or the lifestyle that we have, to be able to get their stories out there. So there's stories that are very much wouldn't have been heard, young girls who are affected by things like the caste system in India, or young girls who might have been brought up thinking that girls are inferior, and perhaps the pathway set for them was to just be at home or to be domesticated and get a husband at a young age. And so the idea of publishing a book for them wouldn't be something that is necessarily accessible for them. But through this organisation, they had an opportunity to work with the publisher and to get these stories published. And I think with anything really, and it's not just about, there's so many different facets to it. It's location, it's race, it's class, it's background. All of these things have a say. If you're talking about, publishing in terms of, commercial publishing, even those who have access, to publishers, let's look at African Americans. They live in a wealthy country where there are book publishers. You do have access to these things, but it's the people who are making the decisions about what gets published that creates the problem. If the workforce of these companies aren't diverse enough, or if they're only taking stories that represent one demographic, for example, then your voice does become almost like it's in the background. So there's so many different things that take place in regards to voices not being heard. So it's race, background, gender, sometimes money, location.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewanfo. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.